Good morning. I'm sorry I'm late. This is Pete Najarian. This is the Take for Market Rebellion. I got to tell you something. When you go back to last week, it wasn't just a Friday story. It was the final hour Thursday pushed into Friday that really did stand out. We found out there are still buyers out there of the market. Matter of fact, when you look at the Dow was up approximately 1,000 points from that final hour of Thursday into Friday's close. Actually, Friday, it was up about 460 points on the Dow, maybe a little bit more than that. When you look at the NASDAQ, similar story, up about 600 points when you combine that final hour with Friday. And Friday's number, not shabby at all, up over 400 points for the NASDAQ. So buyers are still out there. The S&P, similar story, about 160 points to the upside if you add those two together. So it really does stand out for me. What a wild ride that we had at the end of the week in that final hour Thursday into Friday. We looked at crude oil. It's been gaining. It had gotten underneath 100, finished the week about 110. You look at the 10-year, been kind of planted of late. Yes, we got up there at 3.2 and then we kind of shifted back, but here we are just kind of playing around somewhere near that 2.9 area. I look at Bitcoin hovering around that 30,000 mark. That's something we've been watching as it's been under a lot of pressure of late. A lot of those cryptocurrencies definitely under pressure, but it's been volatility that people have been talking about. Too many people focused only on the VIX. But if we start with the VIX, that's fine. Finish the day underneath 29 for the volatility index. We never got anywhere close to that 40 number. But those of us that have been looking at that, and all of you out there looking at that VXN, the volatility for the NASDAQ, that's told a bit of a different story with 4 closes over 40 last week. That said a lot about where things are in terms of the volatility. It did pull back on Friday. Certainly, we got down towards 37. We had a huge day once again with the volumes of May continuing to be strong after the weaker April, but 47 million contracts trading in the month of May on Friday. Month of May definitely holding up its end of the bargain and hitting right about the averages for year to date. So very, very powerful to see these numbers working the way they are. Consumer discretionary, absolutely outrageous move to the upside. 4% move single day on Friday. Technology up nearly 3.5%. Energy up nearly 3.5%. I see the financials actually had a pretty decent day as well, up over 1%. So we really had a lot of participation in this rally to the upside. It wasn't just a couple of stocks. It wasn't just a single sector. Many sectors having a really unbelievable day. Tesla was up almost 6% on Friday. Amazon, almost 6% on Friday. Netflix, over 7.5% on Friday. You get the idea. A lot of strength. As a matter of fact, when I was looking through some of the negatives, there weren't too many negatives, actually. The majority of the market really participating, but there were some names out there and some of them getting hit pretty hard. Twitter being one of those names. The back and forth of Elon Musk and some of the negotiation that's kind of going on there, certainly putting some pressure on Twitter, at least for now. DaVita was another name. Kroger, which has been one of those safety names, that's another name that was under fire a little bit. But you look at the casinos, Las Vegas Sands and Wynn and Caesars, all strength to the upside. Cruise ships, when you look at Norwegian and CCL, strong to the upside. We also had the semiconductors finally had that big turnaround, NVIDIA and AMD participating very nicely. So across the board, and you look at the market cap, the big market cap tech names, that was definitely something that had some influence as well on the markets, with Apple moving, Microsoft moving. I mentioned some of the other names already, but you also have those beta names in energy like Occidental. We talked about that unusual option activity on Friday on the halftime show with Scott Wapner and the gang. We have APA, we had Marathon Oil, we had Devon, all having a really, really strong day. So a lot of participation in that rally that we had on Friday. That was actually the continuation of that final hour on Thursday. As we get into today, futures looked very, very calm. Matter of fact, they were, and they stayed pretty calm. We had an early push to the downside. We kind of rallied back. Then we got another flush to the downside. We were down over 200 points on the Dow in that first half hour or so, 100 points on the NASDAQ. That has improved, although we were starting to slide a little bit once again. So last I looked, NASDAQ was down about 30 to 50 points. And I look over at the Dow, it was down anywhere between 60 and 100 points to the downside. Nothing huge, but a little bit of a give back. We can understand that. I looked over at the volatility index, kind of hanging around that 28, 29 area still. But you look at the VXN, take a look at that one. The volatility of the NASDAQ back there very near that 40 number once again. So sort of bouncing back. We'll see if that's something that persists. And we'll obviously be knowing that as we're watching the NASDAQ and some of the moves we're seeing there. Crude oil, 109, 110. Actually, right now, holding right around 111 for crude oil. So anybody who's talking about a lot of the different spots within the market also know this. Energy continues to be very powerful, and those pauses, it seems like, are just consolidation moments for the next move to the upside. That's what we've been seeing, at least so far. And the option paper has been dead on many of these energy names for the last 18, 22 months, something like that. But particularly lately as well, as we've gotten over and somewhere within that 95 to 120 range, we've certainly seen a lot of the option activity telling us a lot about what we're going to expect to see within the energy space. Bitcoin still around that 30,000 level. Yes, the 10-year right around 2.9. We do have nat gas. It's not just crude. Nat gas steadily getting closer and closer again towards that $8 level. A lot going on within the markets. I tell you what, when you look at sectors early on, energy was up about 1.3% or so. Last I looked, it was up 2.5%. Nice big move to the upside. We were seeing industrials get out of negative and a little bit closer to flat. Financials were down about 0.5 or so percent. They were down a little bit more. So financials moving around a little bit, but overall, we're seeing these markets kind of sort of in a bit of a range, at least right now. It's really early, first hour of trade. That's sometimes what we are seeing. JetBlue, that is one of the big storylines of the day today, and this hostile bid that's been going on for Spirit. And that's on something that's been going on for a while, but the hostile side definitely starting to show up, and we're seeing a pretty big reaction today out of Spirit Airlines as well, up 7, 8, 9%, somewhere in that category. It was those China retail sales that really did push the markets, for the moment at least, to the downside pretty swiftly. We saw some of those numbers come out. They didn't look too great. Markets started to take a bit of a hit off of that. So where are we looking right now? Where are some of the strengths, some of the weaknesses? Netflix, one of the strengths. I'm looking at CF Industries, another one of the strengths. I'm looking also, again, Occidental, Schlumberger, Halliburton, all those beta names within energy. Add in Chevron and Exxon as well. Energy itself having a really nice move to the upside, along with some of these Chinese names. I like to bring up the group and see where they're moving each and every day. Today, it started out at least on positive territory with NetEase and JD and PDD. Those names all having a pretty good start, along with Boeing, Caterpillar. There is weakness out there. There's weakness again in Twitter. There's weakness again in some of the material space with Vulcan and Nucor, a little bit under pressure. Also looking at Whirlpool, also looking at Dish, Okta, Datadog. I'm looking at Zscaler. Some of those semiconductors definitely turning after that big run up the latter part of last week. NVIDIA, Applied Materials, Lam Research, all pulling back a little bit, along with Marvell as well. Now, two unusuals, and I'm out of here. It's going to be a pretty wild day, but unfortunately, we had some technical difficulties early on. Apologize about that. That's why we were a little bit late coming on here. But Occidental, I mentioned that name. I'm going to mention it again. That was an unusual last Friday for the halftime report. I'm going to give it to you again today, because this is what we were seeing. About 2,300 of the May 66 calls getting bought, stock trading just above 66, 66.20, somewhere in that category. $2.10 to $2.50 is what they were paying there. They just continue to come after that name, and more stories about Buffett and some of his moves as well. But Occidental definitely stood out right out of the gate. Another one that really stands out is Coca-Cola, KO. I'm taking a look at this name because the stock trading right around 66. They're buying 4,100 of the May 67 calls, 25 cents up to about 37 cents. That's not where it ends. They're also buying 6,800 of the May 68 calls in this name. Those are only 9 cents up to about 14 cents. So some pretty big upside buying in Coke. Can it make that move? Not really sure, but I'll tell you one thing. Coke has been a stock that has been on a tear to the upside when you consider certain areas of the market. We talk about defensives and all the rest of that, but Coke definitely one of those names that has been really performing very nicely. Expectations are a little bit more from here. We'll see if that happens. A lot of big option paper trading in there, but fairly inexpensive options. So remember that. The dollar amount that's going into these trades, far less than the dollar amount that we are seeing oftentimes in some of these others. Folks, have a great day of trading. I'm sorry once again that we were a little bit late, but we'll make up for it tomorrow. Have a great day.